It is my privilege and joy that we can start a new Bible study about our origin, about Genesis. In a world in which we live today, in which the natural disasters are daily reported, in which famine is around and many people die because they have no food, in a world in which disease is put into the center, at least in these last 2 years, through this common enemy that was presented to us. In a world in which enmity is revealed in a way that it was never revealed before. You see, in this crisis, since it started 2 years ago, we have seen the separation of those ties, of those unities that you would say are inseparable. Mother and child, husband and wife, brother and sister, not only physical, from the same family, but also from the same church. There has been an enmity that came out because of an ideology and of an external sign. It brought all problems in the world, this outward sign that you put in your face and that injection that you put into your body. It split, it separated the people, humanity, in two sides. And it didn't take count on what kind of relationship someone had. And that's an amazing thing. It proves that ideology is before relationship. It proves that a relationship is an effect of what you believe. And yes, those who believe the same thing, they were united. And those who didn't believe the same thing, they got separated, no matter what kind of a unit, what kind of relationship it was, conjugal or parental or fraternal, didn't matter. And now the war started, a physical war, which is not only a physical, but a spiritual war. It's the same thing, but it's now a thing higher. That is the war. Now the world has a seen enemy. Here it's an unseen enemy. And now we have a seen enemy. And the whole world must be against this one seen enemy. No matter if this war will become a third world war, because I believe it will be so. But if it would not become, it is an ideological. Because all the sanctions that were done are not against the enemy, like it was not against the virus. It was all against us. All measurements went against the human being in this crisis. And all measurements that are done today, the sanctions, do not go against the enemy. It goes against the own people. There are people who go and say, we want peace, but they condemn war, but they send money to sustain the war. They send armament, guns, bombs against the war. Well, that shows that they haven't understood anything. They are in the same war because you cannot overcome the evil with evil. You cannot overcome violence with violence. That's impossible. The only way to overcome violence is through love. Evil can only be overcome through good. Righteousness can only be brought against unrighteousness. Never unrighteousness against unrighteousness. So we are in a great confusion, but in a great battle of separation of humanity in two sides, which is in the intention of God and intention of the devil. Because All this battle must have an end. And the question is, where are we heading to? Where? What will be the end of this? And we only can give a correct answer if we know where is the origin. Do we come by chance into this world? Or is someone governing everything that happens in this earth? And God has put in every human being an identity. That is, without he is asked for, God gave him an identity. And the identity says, who is your origin? So the right identity shows the right origin, the wrong identity shows the wrong origin. And there are only two origins possible. Either it's the primordial soup or it is God. Now, if it is the primordial soup, you exist by chance, then disease comes by chance, then you must do something to exclude the enemy, then the war is by chance, then a gunshot can kill you by chance, which is the idea of evolution. And so you must beware somehow, you must exclude that chance that can happen. But if you believe that you come from God, and you know that, then you know towards you're heading to. Because according to the law, everything where it starts, it must end. If someone thinks he started in uncertainty and by chance, then he will end there up. And if someone believes that he comes on an intention of God, then he will end up there. So let's look. What would be the first proof of our origin? And that is the law. This universe, as much as we can comprehend from it, is constructed by channels. That is, it's all made of channels. There is nothing big or small that is not functioning according to a channel. That's why they are all governed by a basic law. Nothing can exist and function by itself. Everything must take, everything is dependent, nothing can be independent. That's very clear in the first of the tables of the Ten Commandments. And the second says that nothing can do anything for itself. The channel cannot function for itself. It was made to give for a purpose forward. And that's in the second table of the Ten Commandments. And the humans are the same. They are channels. They must take in order to give. There is no exception in the whole creation that we see, that every element functions according to a channel, is always dependent on one side, and it serves a purpose on the other side. So if everything is a channel, there must be a starting point for every channel. There must be a place where the channel is fed. If each channel feeds each other, where is the beginning? So God is the beginning, and as all go in a circle, He must and is also the end. So according what we see, according what we can grasp with our mind, God exists. The law does not permit that He's not there. And that He is love is also given by this channel type function, that nothing can do anything for itself. It was created to serve a purpose. So this proves our origin. There is nothing else that can prove to the human being that he is dependent on God and God exists. This law convinced me. And it convinced me of the nature of God, that is, of His character, that He is love. Because nothing functions for itself. Nothing. So this law would help anyone to know his origin. But as simple as it is unknown. It is not grasped. And simplicity brings hardship to those who are not used to think simple. Now, the creation of God of our earth in 7 days. It's important to understand who created. In Colossians chapter 1 from verse 15 it says, "Who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature," it's Christ. "For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him, and he is before all things, and by him all things consists." So it's very evident God created through Christ everything. In her book, The Desire of Ages, in her first chapter, Ellen White says, Christ is the made audible thought of God. So when God created through his word, when we read here, he said, and it was, and the first thing, it was light. Who said it? So Christ is the audible thought of God. Now we cannot comprehend that in our finite mind, but at least we can realize that Christ was the one that spoke, and it stood there. He created on the first day the light, and it was there, and he separated light from night, and so the first 24 hours were created. The second day, he created heaven and the earth. Now he separated the waters from above from the waters beneath. Now everything is made out of water. How that is and how the heavens are also out of water, we might understand one day better when God will explain us all his physicals and the laws by which he did all those things. We know on the third day that out of the water he made the waters to come aside, and then the earth came out beneath the waters. And then from the earth, God, by his word, created the plants according to their seeds. On the fourth day, he created the sun and moon and stars. Now, according to his law, it's very nice to know that the sun was not created before light was created, because the sun has no light of its own. So he created first the day, and he gave the sun the light in order to lighten the day, and he gave the moon the light to lighten the night and the stars. So God is light. That's why in the new creation, in the new Jerusalem, where we will live together with God, we would need no sun, because there will be nor day nor night. Because where God is, there is light. And we will live in his immediate presence. So there will be no day nor night. But according to the law, the sun does not have light of its own. By the moon we know it for sure. By the sun we might doubt it. No, the sun just transmits that power that God gave her to transmit. So that's on the fourth day. That's not first there and then the earth second. No. It is the right order in this creation. The fifth day, he makes the animals of the sea and the birds of the air. And on the sixth day, he creates the animals and the humans, Adam and Eve. And as we are interested also in the other creation, we are especially interested in the creation of the human being. So we need to know the nature of man. This is one crucial thing to understand, because if from the beginning of the Bible we are getting confused about the nature of man, we will have an issue through all the Bible, which proves today to be so. Because somehow the devil could bring humans into the thing to not know their own nature. They don't even occupy with their own nature. So according to the Bible and according to the facts that we can see, we were made out of earth and out of the breath of life. So out of the breath of life, God made humanity. Out of the earth, when it came together with the breath of life, it transformed into a body, a living body. And it was transformed into a spirit. And together they were a living soul. So the soul is the result of body and spirit. And we know that the soul is not an entity for itself. It is just a result of two different entities. Now, if we take death, we will see that when the spirit separates from the body, then the body becomes earth. And the spirit becomes the breath of life, invisible. So it's evident that we are souls. Out of two elements, the new element comes out. It's the soul. Two different elements result in a new being, the soul. Now, how does that look in the reality of our being? We have a body that is all comes together in the brain, and the body needs chemistry and electrical current. Both elements must be given to the body so that it can function. The spirit, through his thoughts, decisions, he puts and makes the electrical current, the electrical impulse, so that the being can function. But also the spirit is dependent on love. He needs to take that according to his identity, being a child of God, a creature of God. He takes that through faith and trust from his creator. And all together they give the soul. So I hope that's very clear. This is human nature. He is neither just chemistry, nor is he a spirit. He can never be a spirit, and he can never be just chemistry. Just chemistry would be a plant. Yeah, a living body would be a plant which has no spirit, but has life. But the human being is a soul. And a soul has two parts, a physical and a spiritual one. Understanding this will save us from many, many errors that are there out in the world, in which people believe the soul lives eternally and all this, which is impossible. The elements, yes, they stay eternal, but not what they give. In the moment when they separate, the soul is not there anymore. Now, the second important thing that we learn in this first chapter of Genesis is the law of inheritance for all living things. It's one life and billions and infinite of individuals. We take the human again. Adam was created, one life that should exist from him through eternity. Out of this life, he created Eve, which is the descendant of Adam. Eve was made out of a living being. She was not made out of dust, and she didn't have to get the breath of life. No, she was made out of an already existing being. That's why Adam recognized her as being bone of his bone and blood of his blood. So there was an identity there. He knew she came from him. She was not 100% Adam, but she was 100% from Adam. And if they would have had children, all the children would be 100% from Adam, because Eve was also from Adam. And Adam called her Eve because she's the mother of all born children on earth. There is not one born on this earth that does not come from the woman. Yeah, she's the mother of all people on earth. And if they would have got their children in their time of purity, dependence on God, every individual should live infinitely. There would never be an end. All would expand continually. That's how God created. He creates a being that multiplies without ever having an end. This is most important for us to understand, so we understand also why we have what we have in the next lectures. Now, the question that was very important, and even in our script for these Bible lessons, it said, why was man created? And the lesson suggests that the creation was made for man, which shows that the lesson writer hasn't understood the law, because nothing was created for us. Because nothing, and we were not created for ourselves. So here we find it exactly, and Ellen White writes it, man was created because he was needed. Not we need the earth, even though God made us in a dependency to the earth and the solar system. But we were made to be the manager, to be the king who controls everything on this earth. So God made humans because he needs them for taking care of his new created world. That's why man was created, to work, to guide. The purpose of creation was not for having a good chat with God, and God was lonely without man, or the earth was all made just for man's pleasure. No. Everything was made for pleasure because God did everything out of pleasure. And he made that everything should make us pleasure. But the purpose that we were made for was service, working. And in order to fulfill that, humans had to take their love, their power from God, the only source, and pass it on through the whole creation that was made. So, understanding this helps us to know that we are not the center of the world. We were just made to be the first in line after God to supply all the needs of our earth and then bring that back to God as the law makes it function. So the world was not created for us, but we for the world. But you see, in our deceptive mind, our deceptive thing, we just see things upside down. And we will see in the next lectures why we do that. Now, after he created the human, it was the last creation, he put a seal on his creation, the Sabbath. God rests from the activity of creation. And as every human being even does put his seal on what he has created, God has put also a seal in his creation, a commemoration that he is the creator and that he made everything perfect. That's why he gave a seal to it, and that is the seventh day of the week. He didn't create on it anything, but he made this to be part of creation. Since then, we have the 7-day week, and it never changed. They tried through calendars and other things to do this, but God was in charge of his creation, and no one could change the order of the days of the week. The 7th day is still the 7th day, and the 6th day is still the 6th day. It didn't change. And it says here in Genesis 2, from verse 1, "Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the 7th day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made." Now, understanding the Sabbath is a crucial thing. Exactly like understanding the human nature and the law. And so they're all interconnected. And if we don't understand one, we might not understand the other. So the Sabbath was made to transmit a message. That's why it consists of 2 elements, on a meaning and on a 24 hours. It's a day of 24 hours. Now, what is the meaning of the Sabbath? Even if it would not have the 10 commandments in which the Sabbath would be there, the 4th commandment, we would know exactly the meaning of the Sabbath just from the context of creation. The meaning of the Sabbath is to show that God is the creator and that he made everything perfect. And since only man can understand a meaning from all the creature he made, the most important is that man should understand who he is. Understanding who God is, he understands who he is. He is a creature. So man is a creature and God is the creator. That is exactly from here. And now we need to know what the Sabbath means as a relationship factor. So they have a relationship to each other. Which is that? And the sign shows it. It's a relationship of dependency, which means man worships God because he's dependent on him. Worship and dependency is the same thing. So every act that a man does or not does, he must do out of the power of God, in full dependency on God. That was the first Sabbath that God showed the human being, his dependency on him. And he gave the 24 hours each seventh day as a memory, a reminding of that which is a reality for 7 days, 24 hours. That is a continuous reality. So, the seventh day of the week, there are two kinds of works that God does. There is the works that he needs for sustaining and the works of creation. And he gave us a work of sustaining that we cannot stop on Sabbath. We must eat and drink and breathe and sleep. But there is a work of creation that God does, and we have a work of gathering that is, as in the picture when he gave the manna, it was a work of gathering there. And this work of gathering, they had to stop. Each seventh day there was a stopping. So the seventh day gives just a memory of that we worship God 24 hours, 7 days a week. Because the worshiping is not a gathering thing, but a dependency, a continual sustaining thing. Now God is very interesting in the way he does things in order that we understand them. He gave the manna from heaven to show to the humans that they are spiritually dependent on God. But he gave them a physical thing. Now he gives us the Sabbath as a physical 24 hours each day commemoration of a spiritual thing that must be there for all the time. Because it's sustaining work. So the Sabbath is a rest from the works of gathering, but it never is a rest of the works of sustainment, of liberation and healing. And it is a proof that everything we do selflessly through the whole week. So the Sabbath is everything we do. We cannot disconnect the idea of the Sabbath from worship. We can put the word worship or dependency or Sabbath, they mean the same thing. And the Sabbath is all the law because it shows who God is and who are we and our dependency on him. Now, not understanding the meaning is the disaster of the people that today keep the seventh day week Sabbath. The deception of the Sabbath keepers today is that they don't understand the meaning of the Sabbath. It's dark for them because they put all the emphasis on the day. But the day is just a sign for the meaning. And if you make out of a sign the thing itself, you are lost. If baptism has a meaning, but you make out of baptism the meaning, then baptism saves you. That's how Adventists believe the Sabbath saves them. It will save them as much as it saved the people in the time of Jesus. It didn't save them at all because they were not in the spirit of the Sabbath. You see, this crisis revealed to us that we are not dependent on God. Because if we would be dependent on God for our life, for our health, then we would not fear a made-up enemy. We would not fear anything from outside, because that would prove that we are really keeping the Sabbath. It would prove that we do not discriminate, that we accept all people, those with a mask and those without a mask. I mean, as the one that are keeping the Sabbath, you don't wear a mask because you know that there is no danger outside there, and God didn't create you with that. But you would never impose on someone else that. Because love does not discriminate. Your neighbor has no condition to fulfill, to love him, to let him into the church. But not so with the people that call themselves Christians today, and even they call themselves Sabbath keepers. They, in reality, are lip service people, like Jesus said. These people are honoring with their lips, but with their heart, they are far away from me. And this crisis has proven it. It has proven that those who are Sabbath keepers have no idea about what the Sabbath is in itself. It proves they wait on a law that should bring the day in the center, while the Sabbath is not a matter of a day, but a matter of every action in each day of the week. Making out of the day worship itself proves that they don't know nothing. They might be as spiritual as they want. Faith and dependency on God is proven in little things, like wearing a mask. It is proven in little things like thinking a bad thought towards another people. All those things are breaking of the Sabbath, not mentioning the injection, which is breaking of God's creation. But the devil has made it so nice. It saves you, because he must bring all his temptation as a saving issue, not as a damaging issue. It's evident. How and why are we so blind? Because we have not understood neither the law, nor human nature, nor the Sabbath, what it means. May God give us grace that we understand the meaning. Because when we are again completely in our dependence on God, then we keep the Sabbath in reality. And then the seventh day is just a sign of that, what we do all days of the week, and not vice versa. But then we will never put our emphasis on the day. We will always put our emphasis on the meaning of the day. Because if the meaning is there, the day is included in the meaning. But if the meaning is not there, in the day the meaning is not included. May God help us to see the reality of what the Sabbath means and live it and be the sign as a people that we worship God by showing His love that does not overcome evil with evil. I would say a virus with an injection, that's evil with evil. Such a thing does not exist. But who overcome evil with good?